Coast TV, streaming on demand at thecoast.net.nz.
The autobiography is out. It's simply called Valarie.
Yep, Valarie.
A straight up good title, really. What else would you call it?
Valarie Adams.
Yeah, absolutely. You've had an amazing, in a way, we look back at your young career, you've had an amazing career, almost like a roller coaster ride, hasn't it been?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been pretty good. Obviously, from a very young age, going to World Juniors and World Youth, and then right now up to the Olympic Games, so it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, a couple of Olympic golds, but you go back to those days, was it at Mangere, at
Mangere,
school in
yep,
Mangere?
Yep.
And what were your aspirations then when you were at school?
Just make it through school, really, and break the cycle was my biggest aim in life. Obviously, being brought up, we lived on very limited funds with my family, and I wanted to break the cycle and made sure that, my mother always wanted us to have a better life than hers, and that's what my aim in my life was, and sport was one area that I was able to achieve it in. So,
can you remember the day you picked up the shot put?
Yeah, it was actually at a school athletics day. Obviously, we all had to do it, and I just chucked the shot and broke the record by 2 metres, and off I went.
You've never looked back?
Never looked back,
What was it like as a young girl then going off to Europe when you went to those junior games and things like that? A young girl out of Mangere, of all places.
It was pretty scary at first. Obviously, Mangere is kind of a small place with very colourful people and amazing people that I grew up with, but going overseas to Europe, it was very interesting, different language. It was so far away from home, and I was quite homesick on my first trip, going to Bydgoszcz in Poland, that I sort of called home a lot to my mum, and then she got mad when I got home when the phone bill arrived. But nevertheless, it was a great experience, and it gave me an insight as to what track and field was all about.
Because somebody like yourself in your chosen sport, shot put, it's an individual kind of sport, so it's not a team sport, so it's got to make it harder, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I like the aspect of shot putting and athletics because of that. Because if I don't turn up to training, I'm the one that's going to suffer for it, not the team, so to speak. If I don't turn up to training, I won't get the results or the performances that I want. So I got to take responsibility for that. And from a very young age, obviously losing mum when I was 15, I've had to take responsibility for my life in general since then. And track and field was an area where I used it to grieve, to take out my frustrations and my anger and everything from at a young age. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You've surrounded yourself with some pretty inspirational people. I mean, from your first coach right up until now for Jean-Pierre, really, haven't you?
Absolutely. And that's the key, is to get the good support around you to enable you to succeed and not, add more pressure to you. So it's been really good. I've had really awesome people around me, and people that have been there from day one who are still with me today. So that's very important.
In the book you mentioned, I think 2010 was a terrible year for you. I mean, I believe also you contemplated suicide, which I find unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going through life and life deals you some really tough cards like they did in 2010, it was really hard for me emotionally to deal with. Obviously, with the breakup with Kirsten and also the marriage breakup, that was more painful than the coach breakup, because I devoted my life into the marriage, and it obviously didn't work out and things turned ugly, and I just sort of got to the stage where I couldn't be effed anymore, and just contemplated just finishing right there. But thankfully I had people around me to support me and get me through and get me out of the dark hole that I was in.
I was going to say, who turned you around? Was there one specific person that turned you around?
I had a friend in France who helped me turn it all around and sort of pulled me out of the hole that I was in. I also had my sister and my family here on the phone, and also my manager on the other end, sort of telling me just all positive things. This is not the end of the world. You can do better than that. All the rest of it, and then they actually helped me get through what had happened.
Family is really important to you. You come from a huge family. I mean,
yeah.
I know a little bit of the history of the family, and your father, you've got brothers and sisters
everywhere.
Have you found everyone yet? That was, I think, the last time we spoke, you were still finding brothers and sisters you didn't know you had.
No, I haven't found everyone, but we had met 17 of them, which is good. The others, I'm not quite sure where they are, but nevertheless, I am a big time family person. Obviously, since the marital breakup, I totally love hanging out with my family. Obviously, my 2 sisters and my nieces and nephews and brother-in-law, they're my tight-knit family. They're my life. That's why I do what I do. And it's just amazing to be part of that.
How do you cope when you're so far away, basically based in Switzerland a lot of the time? How do you cope not seeing family for a long time?
Internet, Skype and Facebook and Twitter. And
what would you do if you didn't have that?
I think I would actually not survive as long as I did over in Switzerland. But it's kind of makes it easier a bit because they do support what I do, and they are very happy, that I'm doing what I love to do. I feel like I'm sort of a new person almost since everything in 2010, and I have an amazing coach, which actually makes it easier to be in Switzerland because he's so caring and loving, and he's an amazing coach, but also an amazing person.
It's like family over there, really, isn't it, with your new coach?
Pretty much. I pretty much adopted people there. As I go along, I adopt people. But Swiss people are pretty straight people. They're quite correct people. So I just go in there and use a bit of my Kiwi personality and try and get them in.
Have you mastered their language as well as ours now?
French. French. I've known before I went to Switzerland, but next year I'm going to try and study Swiss German.
Which is fantastic. So let's look at the Olympic Games. And you made one comment in the book which I totally and utterly agree with you.
Yeah.
Over-harked. I thought that probably the same time you were thinking it every time, they'd pull out a haka, which is amazing. Had any response from Dave Curry yet?
No, not yet. But, the thing is that I've been with Dave Curry basically since 2002, since my first Commonwealth Games, and right up until 2012 at London. Beijing was probably the most overkilled games for hakas, and I respect the haka and I respect the Māori culture, and it's just such a shame that it was overdid. It was just overdone in Beijing and not done at right times and right places. So, over haka.
London was one hell of a ride for you because, you're also just about missed out on actually being in the entry list.
Yeah, that was another stress, that you sort of had to put up with. Unfortunately, it happened. I had to deal with the situation as good as I could on the day. I had to pull myself together.
How did you find out that had happened, and where were you?
I was actually sitting on my bed getting ready to go for my last training session, all pumped up and ready to roll, and I just went online to see what pool I'm in. Nothing out of the ordinary. I've actually done it in the past, just to see if I'm pool A, pool B, and what number thrower. And I went through the list 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and my name wasn't on the list. And I was the first person to find out. So I sort of went into a panic mode and ran to my coach's room and sort of tried to find out what was going on, then sort of contacted people. Now, I would have appreciated if people contacted me and told me, hey, you're not on the list. Don't worry about it. We've got it under control, and then minimize the stress. But in actual fact, I found out by myself. So that...
Did they know? Had they realised that you weren't on the list? Or
apparently, Dave Curry knew at 12. So.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not on the Christmas card list then, I imagine. And then, of course, being dealt the blow of seeing Ostapchuk sort of win the event and you'd beaten her right through the year, then suddenly she did that. What went through your mind then?
To be quite honest, at that particular time, I was more concerned about my performances. Firstly, how I was feeling physically. I was really pale and just blank and wasn't quite there. No energy. I tried to find every ounce of energy that I had in my body to try and throw. I came out with 2070, which now that we look back on it, would have won the last 5 Olympics. Mm-hmm. So none of her performances did not cross my mind. I was more concerned and more disappointed and, depressed about my performance on the day.
That feeling of going down on Queen's Wharf with the big public ceremony, getting the gold, that was magic. I was there and it was fantastic to be there. I'm sure you felt the same.
Absolutely. It was absolutely amazing. I couldn't have wished for a better medal ceremony, really, and to be able to enjoy it with New Zealand, over 2,500 New Zealanders, was more amazing than getting it in London, I think, because in London there may have been the token 2, 3, 4 Kiwis and the 80,000 people stand, but here we're in New Zealand. It's the first gold medal being presented in New Zealand, and the history behind the medal obviously made it more exciting for people and also myself. So it was quite overwhelming and very humbling.
So Valarie, what for you next?
For me?
Where are you going now?
Well, book touring has started officially today, and then I'll be doing that for a few days up North Island, 4 days, and then South Island next week. I've started training already and go back to Switzerland in 3 weeks' time to do a block over there before I come back with Jean-Pierre.
Is Brazil in the sights?
Brazil is in the sights, but
Fantastic.
Before that we're going to be looking at 2 World Champs and a Commonwealth Games.
Valarie, congratulations. Well
Thank
done to you and Phil Gifford sitting down with the autobiography of Valarie Adams.
Thank you very much.